right, we are now live.
All right. Hello, everybody. Once again, this is Andreas, your garden coordinator here at the Maryland Magrum Center Wellness Garden. And this week we will get to fertilize our fruit trees. So I went to the nursery and I picked up this stuff, citrus and fruit tree fertilizer. This is organic. So the cool thing about this is that not only does it contain fertilizer, it contains beneficial microbes and fungi. If you see right here, also contains non-plant food ingredients. You see all these bacteria and you see these mycorrhiza. So these are beneficial to your fruit trees. Mycorrhiza are really interesting in particular because what they do is they actually infect the cells of the trees, the root cells within the tree roots. And what the mycorrhiza will do is they will give nutrients to the plants. They will extend the root system pretty much. They will send their fungal threads, their hyphae, out into the soil, way past the roots, and gather nutrients from the soil and transport it to the fruit trees, nutrients and water, and transport it to the fruit trees in exchange for carbohydrates and amino acids that are produced by the fruit trees. So it's a mutually beneficial relationship. And you always want to have mycorrhizae in your soil. So 75% of plants roughly will form associations with these mycorrhizal fungi naturally. Unfortunately, in many of our farms and gardens, these mycorrhizae are not present anymore or are at very low concentrations due to mismanagement. And some of these, when you have a product like this that contains the mycorrhizae, they might actually take and improve the production and resilience of your vegetables and fruit trees. We're going to use this stuff according to the instructions. So there are separate instructions for citrus and avocado and fruit and nut trees. So for fruit and nut trees, we're going to do that first. For established plants, use 1 cup for every inch of trunk diameter measured at 4 to 6 inches above the soil line. Work into the soil gently inside of the drip line. Water thoroughly. It looks like the instructions are exactly the same for citrus and avocado and fruit and nut trees. So it doesn't matter. In some cases it might be different, but in this case it certainly does not matter. So I actually could use a bucket. I think a bucket would be helpful. That has a hole in it.
Yeah.
Let's go get a bucket.
Okay.
So we just got some rain.
Yep.
And these cover crops are loving life. We're going to be getting a ton more flowers real soon on these.
They're so tall.
Yeah, the hairy veg has been going for a while. It would look more spectacular had there not been rain because the rain caused the plants to droop a bit, but they'll perk back up. And here's some veg flowers. These ones look really nice. So cover crops are actually very pretty. If you want your garden to look like a meadow while you're restoring your soil, that's what you do. So in that bed over there, right here with the broccoli and the nasturtiums, we will be doing a warm season cover crop. So warm season cover crops grow a lot bigger than cool season cover crops. Some of them can get over 10 feet tall. So this is going to look very spectacular in the summer, and it'll be really cool to see how well the warm season cover crops do in this bed.
What's usually included in the warm season cover crops?
Actually, surprisingly, corn.
Really?
Sorghum. Cowpeas or black-eyed peas. There's a plant called sun hemp, not related to hemp. It's actually a legume that is included. What else? Sunflowers are a warm season cover crop. You can see these sunflowers. They're already going.
Yep.
You know?
Look at them.
These sunflowers right
They're
here.
as tall as you are.
They're making their first flowers, and it's March. So I'm thinking that we can get away with that. Also, okra is used in warm season cover crops, and we're going to be growing okra as a vegetable here too. Okay. A lot of cover crops are actually edible. Like over there, we have peas as part of the cover crop.
Right.
So, and it seems to me that
look at the bird! Oh,
yeah, that's an Oregon junco.
Oh.
I've made friends with them.
Oh no, it went away.
At first they were eating the cover crop seeds, but then I'm like, okay, hey, I don't want to have to keep scaring you guys away. I'm gonna give you some bird seed, and they just go get the bird seed now. Anyways, I digress. Yeah, we have peas in here. We have cabbages in here. So like a lot of things you would normally consider vegetables are included in the cover crop, and also grains. And flowers. In that bed right there, we will be doing a mix of 24 species. that one over here, this is 9 species, plus several species of flower. If you dig in here, then we can see some California poppies growing. I put some poppies in here. Check out our YouTube video on the subject. These are California poppies. Check out our YouTube video on the subject of sowing these cover crops, and you will see that I included some beautiful California poppies into the mix, our state flower. Anyways, let's get a bucket.
Yes.
Let's go this way. I think I have a bucket over here.
I want to show the beautiful radishes you harvested.
These radishes are volunteers. They came up on their own. You know you have healthy soil when vegetables come up by themselves.
I thought you planted those.
I did not plant those.
Oh wow.
They just showed
Amazing.
up. And yeah, you know you have healthy soil when your vegetables come up as weeds, and then you can just harvest them.
Nice.
You know? Anyways, let's get a bucket. This is the worm tea bucket that we use for worm tea. It has some water in it, so maybe not using the bucket. We might have to just do this the old-fashioned way.
You're gonna use that for the fertilizer, right?
I was going to use it for the fertilizer to mix it. You know what we can use is a mason jar. A very large mason jar.
Okay, while you get that,
Right?
I will show the peas. Yes, they're big, large. They're maturing very well. We harvested some and donated them to the food pantry. Look at that. I think the fun ones are the purple ones. Like, who would have ever known there was purple peas? So beautiful. Look at that. So many of them. I harvested a bunch on Tuesday and there's still a ton left. Let's pull one out and see the inside.
This is 1 quart.
I'm just showing them the inside. I think there's 3 different types of peas here, huh?
I think so.
Look at that. Beautiful.
Yeah, because this is one right here.
Yeah, that's the sugar snap, right?
No, this looks like a snow pea.
Oh.
This one I think is a shelling pea. Or did you put sugar snaps in there? There might actually be 4 kinds. And this is the magnolia. The magnolia peas are...
I just ate a sugar snap, yeah.
Oh, that's sugar snap. Okay, yeah, the magnolia peas are very similar to sugar snap peas. They're basically sugar snap peas, but purple. Yum. They're very sweet.
I know, I love it.
A little bit tough. I think that the soil here is not where it needs to be either. What we're going to be doing here, we'll be planting turmeric and also a clover ground cover. The clover is going to fix nitrogen and help the soil out.
That's
Clover and
spinach. That's cilantro, right?
Cilantro.
Okay, I don't know why I thought you planted spinach.
I did, but
Or
the
you
seeds
did-
were not viable. They didn't
Okay.
come up. See what the squirrels did? Squirrel damage.
Oh no, we have little squirrel friends here. Someone asked, how do you know when peas are mature and ready to harvest?
When they
They'll kind of
swell
swell
up.
up, yeah.
When they swell up.
So see,
Or-
oh my gosh.
Or when they reach a nice size,
So you can
know.
kind of compare, like this one's small, thin, fragile.
It's kind
This
of
one's a bit larger.
yeah, it's kind of your preference. So
True, because you can still eat them even if they're small. This
yeah,
can
I
be-
know somebody had a question.
See, this one's like huge. What's the question?
Yeah, I know somebody had another question from last week, and I don't remember what it was. So if
About
you're watching,
peas?
or 2 weeks ago, it was regarding hydroponics. So if you have that question to ask, please ask it again, and I'll be able to answer it for you right now. Otherwise, we'll try and get to it as soon as possible. I was not able to look at the question before we got started. I was busy here pulling up the non-native tropical milkweed. We'll talk about why you don't want tropical milkweed in a little bit. First, let's fertilize the fruit trees.
Okay.
So I found this mason jar. I think a quart is it 4 cups or 8 cups?
A quart is 4 cups, I think.
We'll find out. So yeah, fertilizing fruit trees. I've never actually done this before, but the process seems very straightforward. I haven't
Okay.
applied a commercial fertilizer to fruit trees.
We're learning together.
I feed my fruit trees at home aquaponic water from my system. They love it. I need to open this. They seem to make these very difficult to open.
Are those clovers growing on the ground there?
No, that's oxalis.
Oh.
There we go. You got it. Here's what it looks like.
Okay. It's like
It's organic. It's made from bone meal, good stuff, feather meal, blood meal, dried poultry waste, and potassium sulfate. The potassium sulfate must be mined. If you see anything that sounds like a chemical name in an organic fertilizer, it's probably been mined. Because they're not allowed to produce it synthetically and call it organic. That's really the only difference. In that case, at least.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so use 1 cup for every inch of trunk diameter, measured at 4 to 6 inches above the soil. So how much trunk diameter do we have on this apple tree? 3 inches. So we're going to use 3 cups. I don't really think it has to be exact. You just don't want over-fertilize.
What happens if you over-fertilize?
The trees can get burned. They can get nutrient toxicity.
Oh, wow.
There's half cup. Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's 4 cups to a quart. I wish this mason jar had a wider mouth. I might decide not to do this with the next one because this is just falling out and making a mess. So that's 1 cup. We're not gonna use the mason jar. So
I have a few questions ready that our intern got ready for us. So,
oh yeah,
does every fruit tree need to be fertilized?
does every fruit tree need to be fertilized? Whoa, what happened here? I think we have a gopher. That shouldn't happen.
What is that?
Big hole.
It's a pocket.
That's an interesting question. I'm not sure how qualified I feel to answer that.
Okay.
However, I will say this. If you have healthy soil and you're chopping and dropping and you're, applying like litter, there's really no need to fertilize in theory. But I would say that under most circumstances, most fruit trees are going to need it. Like the circumstances you find in a typical garden, and it could take some time to get to that point where you have healthy enough soil to not fertilize. I don't fertilize my garden that much, really, when I'm growing vegetables. But yeah, in theory, if you have a functional food forest, you don't need to fertilize. But I wonder what happened here. Yeah, in theory, you don't need to, but in practice, in your garden, oftentimes you do.
Okay.
And it's usually done once or twice per year. Once at the beginning of the season, and maybe once at the end of the season. So this is 1 cup. So yeah, you know what I would like to do here?
So why do you dig a little well?
Well, I'm just pulling the mulch aside. That's all I'm doing.
Okay.
Because if it gets in if the fertilizer just gets in the mulch, then all of the nitrogen in there and all the nutrients are going to be used by the microbes in the soil to break down the mulch, and it won't really get to the fruit tree. You don't want that.
True.
So I'm gonna get some soil.
Okay.
Extra soil.
I'm gonna get, or I want to get the little chair.
This soil has lots of fungi in it. Oh, there goes that. It's okay.
It's okay.
I'll fix it.
Offer the soil.
This soil, this white stuff you see in here. This is either a fungi or it's something very similar to fungi called actinomycetes.
I thought it was because of the sand.
Nope. That's biology. Biology usually is good. So
It's starting to drizzle here in Northridge.
what?
I said it's starting to drizzle
Oh, is it?
a little bit.
Again? So I'm just going to toss a little bit here. And so it says in the instructions to work the fertilizer into the soil. So what I'm going to do is this.
You can kind of layer it, sprinkle.
I'm going to layer it, yeah. Yeah, and try not to hit the trunk of the tree. So in an ideal world, we won't have to add fertilizer, we'll just have to mulch. But I don't think we're there yet. Or like we would only have to add fertilizer sparingly and do it like in liquid form so we can keep the mulch. We're not there yet, so that's one cut.
Another question is, when's the best time to fertilize my fruit tree?
Now?
Now? So spring and fall, you'd say?
I would say early spring, and maybe in the fall. Follow the instructions on the bag, and look to see when the particular fruit tree that you are growing should be fertilized, because it depends on the tree, oftentimes.
Okay, another question, will I need to test the soil?
You need to test the soil. I mean, I would. A soil test can tell you a couple things, it also can't tell you others.
Okay.
So I would say why not? Get your soil tested if you're willing to spend the money. It could be useful, just like understand what the soil test means. And you don't need to test your soil necessarily to determine if your soil is good. If your soil has organic matter, like lots of organic matter, if it's really dark and fluffy and it smells nice, and it has lots of stuff growing in it naturally, then it's probably good soil. Like especially if you have vegetables coming up. Then if you have like your volunteer vegetables coming up, then you probably have good soil.
Right. Okay, are there different methods for fertilizing fruit trees?
Yes, actually. So you can
Okay.
apply the fertilizer at the base, like a solid fertilizer. You can use liquid fertilizers, and you can also do what's called a foliar feed. You can dissolve the fertilizer into water and then spray it all over the leaves. That was 2.5 cups, right? Wow, we might actually not have enough of this stuff to fertilize all the fruit trees. I definitely want to wash the fertilizer away from the base of the tree. You shouldn't have it contacting the base of the tree. Unfortunately, this thing is kind of small, so we'll wash it away. And then if we have time, we'll talk about milkweed today. I put it in the title, so we have to do it anyways, I guess. But...
Yes. Milkweed is always fun to talk about.
What's that?
I said milkweed is always fun to talk about.
Oh yeah, and there's apparently, you know, things that a lot of people don't know about milkweed and what kinds of milkweed you should be planting and why. And what kinds you shouldn't be planting and why.
Yeah, the one I see commonly is the one that we were planting.
Yeah, you don't want to plant that stuff.
What kind is it?
If you live in like Mexico or like Costa Rica, yes, that's when you want to plant it. We don't live there. We're in California. So what you want to do is you want to plant milkweeds that are native to California.
Right.
And I'll explain why they're there. It's not just because they're native. There's a reason.
Look at that miner's lettuce flowering.
Yeah, so I'm actually not going to harvest this stuff.
You're gonna let
I
it
want
grow?
to go to seed. Honestly.
Okay.
Like that's what I want to happen. I want it to go to seed and make more, and become like, you know, a naturalized plant here that you can just harvest whenever you want, whenever it's in season. I suppose that's good enough.
So miner's lettuce is seasonal? It's an annual?
Yes, it is.
Oh, okay.
Miner's lettuce is a cool season crop. It does not like heat.
All right, so that is completing our apple tree
Yeah,
fertilizer.
there's one. Let's do the line. Okay, so the lime tree.
He's measuring the diameter of the trunk.
We'll call it 3 inches. I might have to be careful here actually, because the lime tree is thorny. Ooh, look at all those ants. Oh,
Yeah, this tree is filled with ants.
When you see ants on a fruit tree, it's a good sign that you might have some kind of pest like scale, because the ants will actually like partner with the pests. And
So it's a good thing?
farm them. There's this really great quote I like from a guy by the name of Jeff Lawton. Look him up. GeoffLawton. And what he said is, everything gardens. And the way that ants associate with aphids and with scale is an excellent example of that.
I didn't even know ants have any association with the aphids.
Absolutely.
What do they do?
They transport the aphids to new host plants and protect them. And in return, the aphids secrete this sweet substance out of their behinds called honeydew. And the ants love it. They eat it.
Huh.
And so the ants are literally farming the aphids. It's
What
similar with the mycorrhizal fungi we just talked about. The plants are gardening the fungi. Because what they're doing is they're giving the fungi the nutrients it needs in exchange for the nutrient that the plant needs. Gardening.
Plants are funny. And so are bugs.
You can find examples like this all throughout nature. So I see some earthworms in the soil here. This soil under this lime tree is starting to look real cool. I'm going to try and avoid the trunk this time as best as I can. With organic fertilizer, there's less of a risk that you're going to injure your tree if you don't apply it properly. That's one of the great things about organic fertilizers. I mean, usually. And that's because it's not like you're applying chemicals. Because chemicals, if they, they can actually burn the tree if you apply too much. Mm-hmm. With organic stuff, there's less of a risk of that because the biology in the soil has to get to it first.
I have a question actually about the ratio.
Yeah?
So for when you're buying, so the ratio is like the 8:4:2. That stands for the nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium content.
Yeah, we're gonna run out of this stuff. We need to get more.
Oh man. Does the ratio matter that much, or like?
I think that's good.
Does it always have to be 8:4:2 for fruit fertilizing?
It's gonna probably look something similar to that. The ratio does matter because these nutrients in the tree perform different functions. And in the fruit tree, it needs to have certain functions fulfilled in order to grow and produce properly. And so the ratio is kind of like optimized for that.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll do that for now. And then once we run out of this stuff, we'll water in. I'll probably need to get 2 more bags because I'd like to hit the fig trees too.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, lemon tree. Definitely got to be careful with the lemon tree because it's very spiny, very thorny. I think this is a Meyer lemon.
It's actually good that it's drizzling because there's not a lot of bees here right now.
Oh yeah, the bees love this tree. They absolutely love this lemon tree.
Yeah.
It's their favorite tree in the whole garden.
That made me so happy. I'm wearing my Save the Bees
See when you mulch
shirt
how
right
nice
now.
your soil starts to look? You see how dark it's getting?
Yeah.
You see how well structured it's becoming?
Mm-hmm.
Cover the soil.
So that's a really good sign.
When I learned to cover the soil, it changed my life. I never gardened the same again. And,
Yeah. At my garden at home, we want to get some mulch for our
you can
beds.
get mulch for free. I make my own mulch. I make it.
You have a wood chipper, right?
I have a wood chipper. See all those worms? That's what you want.
Oh wow! Did you add them in?
Nope. They came on their own.
Nice. You can't really see them from here, but they're in the corner there.
You know that saying, build it and they will come. When it comes to garden soil, at least in your garden, worms are one of the best things for your soil. They are microbe distribution factories, and they are aeration machines. And they build soil structure. Worms do so much for you in your soil. So you definitely want to have worms.
Okay, I have a question actually about the worms.
Yep.
So I'm sure everyone who's listening can know what I'm talking about as well. Why is it that when it rains, sometimes you'll see a bunch of worms appear in your yard?
Because they like moisture.
So they crawl out of the grass to be on the sidewalk?
Well, I suppose I'm not exactly sure what the answer to that question is. But here's what I would guess. What I would guess is that the worms are taking this as an opportunity
to move around
to new locations.
Okay.
Because it's nice, and because the thing about worms is that they actually breathe through their skin.
Huh.
And in order for them to breathe through their skin has to be moist at all times. That's why they're normally underground. But when it's wet out, this could be their golden opportunity to find new feeding grounds.
Alondra, you've wondered that too. Yeah, I've always wondered that. I remember seeing, and I would feel bad because they look like they were dead worms on the sidewalk.
Yeah, sometimes they dry out. Sometimes it dries out too fast, and then the worms dry out, and then they die.
Yeah.
That's just what happens. These fruit trees are looking really good. I know you don't have to fertilize every year. I'm not even sure if it's necessary this year, to be quite honest. But it can't hurt if it's organic, I guess. So, I mean, it can. You know, just because you see something in a store labeled organic doesn't mean it's good. You know.
So you have to look at the ingredients.
Look at the ingredients, and know the right dosage. There's another saying in the medicine world, in the toxicology world, the dose makes the poison. Take, for example, potassium chloride. Potassium chloride is a salt that is very chemically similar to table salt, and it is used as a heart medicine in small doses sometimes. But if you have too much, it'll stop your heart, and then that'll be the end.
Right.
You know, the same kind of applies to your garden. More fertilizer isn't better. You want the right amount. And this is 2 inches, so yeah, we're going to be done with this one. What I'm doing is, since I'm not sure if these fruit trees really need it, I underestimated. I undercorrected. And if you're not sure, that's a good thing to do. Always, with fertilizer, use less instead of more, and oftentimes less is more. And you can also just practice proper crop rotation and companion planting. And that'll reduce your fertilizer, and cover cropping, and that'll reduce your fertilizer requirements a whole lot. I am growing fava beans, potatoes, and peas at my house this season, and I haven't fertilized one single time.
How are they doing?
Great. I mean, we'll see how big the yields are going to be, but they look really good. So actually what we're going to be doing this season is we're going to be planting plants around the fruit trees, companion plants for the fruit trees, that will perform beneficial functions and also produce food. So it's not time to do that yet. But one of the ones that we're going to be planting is called Comfrey. So Comfrey is like this big sprawling plant with huge leaves, right? It's usually about 3 feet wide and 3 feet tall, and it makes these beautiful purple flowers. It's in the same family as borage, and pollinators love it. And also it has this really deep taproot that goes way deep into the soil and pulls up water and nutrients and brings them to the surface.
So that's good for trees?
It is, because when you cut the comfrey leaves and you mulch with them, it's a fertilizer.
Nice.
And also it could be good for attracting pollinators to your fruit tree. If you're having an issue with pollinators, comfrey is really good for helping bring the pollinators to the fruit tree. With pollinators, having diverse food sources in general is good. So hopefully this is going to be the last year we need to fertilize these here, because we'll start using stuff like comfrey to get fertility into the topsoil where the feeder roots are instead.
Is comfrey what we have growing around the moringa?
Nope.
Okay.
That's called Phacelia.
Phacelia, there we go.
Phacelia is native to California. And Phacelia is one of the most amazing pollinator plants there is. It's actually used as a cover crop to attract pollinators in Europe. So, which is interesting because it's from here. And there are a couple different varieties of it. But the stuff that we have there is what's most commonly used. It's getting really big. It's getting huge. Oh, I forgot to measure. Silly me. That's 2 inches. I'm gonna eyeball it. Yeah, so this is gonna be the end of this fertilizer bag. Definitely gonna need another bag. It was only $9, so that's okay. The good thing about a lot of fertilizers is that they're not expensive. If you have bad soil and you're trying to grow fruit trees, this will definitely help it along and help it continue to grow until you can get your soil to where it needs to be. Fruit trees seem to be pretty tough. I'm not that experienced with them. Most of what I know about fruit trees, or a lot of it, comes from just knowing about plants in general. So, what I do know about fruit trees is that they like really fungal soil. And they like to have mycorrhiza. So that's why applying this fertilizer is going to be a good thing no matter what. So, what's
a good resource to research like certain fungal? So like, let's say I want to buy a fertilizer and it has ingredients that I don't even know what mycorrhiza is. How would do you know if there's like if I Google it, what is a reliable website?
I don't know about the products on the market. I haven't really seen any product guides. I just look for stuff, like if I want mycorrhiza, I just honestly look for stuff that says it contains it. Like from a reputable brand.
But where did you learn that from?
But I was going to say, when it comes to learning about soil biology and understanding soil biology, go to the USDA website, or just Google USDA soil biology or soil food web, USDA soil biology, I think, and there's this whole page that comes up.
Nice.
It's the soil, I'm trying to remember the name of this thing. There's a name for it. USDA Soil Biology Primer, I think it's called. So look at the USDA Soil Biology Primer. This will tell you about all the different kinds of organisms that live in the soil, what their functions are, and how they benefit your plants. And how do you encourage them? Mulching, cover crops, and using very high quality compost. When it comes to compost, how good your compost is really matters. People just think they could apply any old compost. It's not how it works.
The more variety, the better?
Yep. So we fertilized 4 fruit trees.
Nice.
And that's what this bag got us. So that gives you an idea of how much you need to use. This is my first time using a commercial product to fertilize a fruit tree, as I said. Normally, I just give my lemon tree water from and my fig tree at home water from my aquaponic system, and they like it. But I guess if you're using a commercial blend, if you have fruit trees of this size, right? You know, small fruit trees, but, you know, of respectable size. Then, you know, I would say 1 bag will fertilize 2 to 4 trees. So keep that in mind.
Okay.
So now what we're going to do is we're going to water, because you have to water them thoroughly. Let's move this out of the way. Then what I would really like to do is mulch and then establish some plants. So we're going to need to order mulch from Physical Plant Management Center. The whole garden needs it anyways. Because when we terminate the cover crops, we'll mulch those beds. We're going to mulch everything.
Yeah, it gets really hot here, so the mulch is going to help retain that moisture when it gets super hot.
Mulching really is one of the best things you can do for your soil ever. Because, so from a moisture perspective, it acts as a protective barrier that keeps the moisture in. From a temperature perspective, it will moderate the soil temperature. It won't get too hot, it won't get too cold when you mulch. Or there will be less fluctuations. From a biological perspective, it does 2 things for you. First of all, it protects the soil biology. We could water more than that. Yeah, so first of all, it protects the soil biology. Oh, are you okay?
Yes.
Because soil biology is sensitive to ultraviolet radiation, and the sun produces a whole lot of that. So if you leave soil exposed, all of your soil biology in the top layer of your soil, which should be and usually is the most biologically active, is going to be inhibited or killed. So mulching protects them. Also, mulching feeds fungi. And what likes fungi? Fruit trees. So this ought to do it in a minute. And the miner's lettuce is going to like the water too. When you find miner's lettuce in the wild, you'll always find it growing in moist locations. And we want to get a lot of it into this garden right over here. This is like the perfect environment for it. Nice filtered sunlight right by fruit trees that get water regularly. And we're going to be pairing some stuff with it.
If you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat box.
So I'm gonna top drench these, and then I might actually want to do like more of a deep soaking for a little bit. I'm not sure how necessary that is, but
is it supposed to rain again? I don't remember.
Tomorrow.
Okay.
But yeah, so if we keep applying mulch, then eventually we probably won't have to fertilize these at all.
Okay.
They'll just grow. Because once the biology really gets in there, then the biology and like whatever companion plants we have are going to make the fruit trees self-sustaining. That's the goal, at least. It's totally possible. You know, there are some folks who have some crazy food forests and they don't fertilize. Their fertilizer is all the foliage that they're growing. And their fertilizer is, you know, the Muscovy ducks that they graze through their...
Muscovy duck? What is that?
Muscovy ducks is a type of duck that they graze through their fruit trees.
Okay, someone asked again how often you should fertilize. You said twice a year, right?
Once or twice a year, depending on the fruit tree.
And how mature it is?
Yeah, how mature is just going to affect how much you use.
Okay.
Usually. So, typically you'll fertilize in the early spring, and sometimes in the fall or later, depending, or like later in the season, depending on the fruit tree. It really depends on what you're growing. Just research what you're growing.
Andreas, let's go for that. Do you want to hold it while I? Okay.
So Brianna's going to take a bathroom break. I'll just finish up for you guys. And I'm just watering this in. After this, we're going to talk about milkweed. So I think that the fruit trees are really going to appreciate the fertilizer. You can see it right here too. All right, I think that's good. Perfect. All right, let's talk about milkweed. So I brought some seeds today of mine. Let's see now. Here we are. Hopefully it doesn't rain while I'm planting these. I have all kinds of things in here. So here's the two we're going to grow here. We have the most important one, Asclepias fascicularis, narrow-leaved milkweed, and another really important one, Asclepias areocarpa, or Catullus. milk. So, let's talk about milkweeds. In this garden, for the longest time, we have had this one over here. And I already pulled them out, most of them, but there's still a couple left. So this right here is tropical milkweed. Now, tropical milkweed is native to Central America and Mexico, I believe. So, yes, monarch butterflies will eat it. Yes, they will lay their eggs on it, and the caterpillars will eat it. But there's a problem. There's a couple problems, actually. First of all, as you can see, it's wintertime, and the tropical milkweed still has leaves on it. So when it comes to native milkweed, the native milkweed will lose its leaves over the winter. So when you have a milkweed that has leaves in the winter in California, it's going to mess with the reproductive cycle of the monarch butterflies, because milkweed is the only plant that monarch butterflies feed off. Internet problem. There we go. So milkweed is the only plant that monarch butterflies will feed off of. So when we plant this non-native milkweed, it can mess with the monarch butterfly's life cycle. Right now, the monarch butterflies should be dormant and just waking up. Maybe just barely waking up. But because there is this tropical milkweed here that has leaves in the winter, the monarch butterflies are going to wake up and lay their eggs when they shouldn't. And that is one of the things that is contributing to the decline of their populations. The monarch butterfly population is plummeting so rapidly that they may need to be classified as endangered soon. So here's the other problem with tropical milkweed. Because it keeps its leaves year-round, there's this parasite on milkweed, I forgot what it's called like OE or something, and it stays on the milkweed year-round, and it keeps accumulating on the leaves. So now, because you have this milkweed that has the parasite on it all the time, then your milkweed is going to be infecting the caterpillars with this parasite that is deadly to them. So we don't want that. So those are the two reasons we don't want tropical milkweed. So that's why we have these. We have our native milkweed. So yeah, again, Catolo milkweed and narrow-leaved milkweed. Narrow-leaved milkweed is the most common and the most important, and Catolo milkweed is also indigenous to our area. So we always want to use milkweeds that are indigenous to our area, because the monarch butterflies are going to expect to, well, not the monarch, they're not going to expect, but like, how do I say this? Because they will be producing leaves, and they will be, productive at the right time of year for the monarchs. So that's why we want to use our native milkweeds. Okay, so why don't we plant these? I'm getting warm.
Okay.
I think that fertilizer gave me a little rash. Maybe use gloves next time. I don't normally have that kind of issue with fertilizer, but I have sensitive skin. So we pulled out all of our non-native milkweed from the pollinator boxes, which are all around the garden, and from the containers. And we're going to plant this stuff. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I was going to plant some in the ground too, by the fig trees, because there's some soil there. So milkweed likes sunny locations, I believe, and well-draining soil. That's what it said on the pamphlet that I have. So, and you want to plant these in the spring, like earliest now. Usually it's done later, and they should still come up. Like, they'll germinate whenever conditions are right. You can plant them now, but typically I think it's more like April, May when they really start to come up and awaken. Yeah, so we'll do 3. We'll do narrow leaf, Catolo.
You just chose that randomly?
No. Because we want to have more narrow leaf because it's more important.
Okay.
So we'll put some here.
I'm wondering why that aloe vera is struggling.
I don't know. Maybe it got too much water?
Maybe.
Let's move it, because it totally came up.
Yeah, I feel like we should
See the fungi?
Whoa, looks like spider webs.
Yeah, when you see that in your soil, that's good. Yeah, so I guess it's alive, so I guess we'll put it back. We'll just kind of get it into like a better location, and we're going to water this in.
Yeah, I had removed the smaller ones to another pot, and they're doing
Yeah,
great.
let's take this guy off and we'll move it. But I never watered this pot because it's succulent, and the milkweed was doing fine, and the aloe vera was doing better. So I'm no succulent expert here. I just know that they like well-draining soil and not a lot of water. And the same applies for the milkweed. So they, in theory, they should do well together.
Okay.
If you want to grow milkweed in pots, I was told by somebody who I know who is a native plant expert to just use regular high-quality potting mix. Yeah, we're doing this one. That location might actually be too, might not be sunny though. It'll be fine actually. All these locations should be fine for milkweed. Against the back wall is probably the best because that's a south-facing wall.
Mm-hmm.
So here are our seeds. Milkweed seeds. Oh, I dropped a couple. Maybe they'll come up.
Okay.
This is Asclepias fascicularis, narrow-leaved milkweed. I believe the most common native milkweed in California. There's actually some that grows wild by my house.
Is that the white one?
Yeah, it's white. Both of these are white.
So I feel like that's a big indicator to know whether or not it's native, because the tropical one
A lot
is
of them
red.
are like white and pink, the native ones. So apparently what you're supposed to do is lightly press the seeds into the soil. You actually want them on the surface. I'm just gonna like put them on there, press them in.
Okay. How long does it take to germinate and all that?
Provided conditions are right, I think it's within 2 weeks.
Okay.
So not that long. I'm just gonna plant them all around here. See which ones come out. We'll see what happens. Also, milkweed is very poisonous. You don't want, even the sap will irritate your skin.
Okay.
So don't eat it.
Good to keep that in mind.
Don't get it in your eyes, especially. It's toxic to your eyes.
Okay.
There's a reason why only the monarch butterflies eat it, and why nothing else does. Let's just say that. The toxins in it are actually cardiac toxins, so they can actually stop your heart, I believe.
Oh man.
So you have to be careful with this stuff. If the seeds are fine, but when it's growing, like you don't want to handle the foliage without gloves at all. That's a bad idea. Very bad idea.
I know you started some seeds at home. Did any of your seeds, have they come up yet? Mine have.
Nope.
No?
It hasn't been 2 weeks, and
I planted wheatgrass because I want to start making like wheatgrass shots, and it started coming up so quickly. I think like within a week.
oh yeah,
It's like right now it's already like 2 inches tall.
that's pretty good. Oh hey,
Yeah.
look at this. This is native. This is called Arroyo lupine.
Nice.
I
These are
have an Arroyo
sunflowers, huh?
lupine growing in my yard. That's gotten quite large. Not that large, but like about as big as the sunflower.
Look at these little radishes.
They are. That needs legumes. We're gonna plant beans in those.
Yeah, you can see the peas are not doing as great.
So 2 spots right there, and then we'll do regular. Yeah, I already put native seeds in here. I'm going to try and get all sorts of native seeds in this garden this year. And get native plants growing. Because our ecosystems need it. And CSUN is awesome. Like, this school is awesome. You know why? Because
They have
around
native
Muffin School,
plants.
they landscape with native plants.
Yeah, I noticed that. I saw the sage. Oh my gosh. Have you seen the sage over there?
Oh yeah. I asked my friend what kind it is.
I love it. It smells so good.
I think he said I know, it's amazing. I think he said it's Cleveland sage. And apparently Cleveland sage is delicious in cooking.
Wow. I believe it because that's my favorite sage, to just smell and inhale. It's like so good.
Oh yeah. It's really good. I love native sage. These are getting buried inadvertently, so I'm going to keep sowing them and see if we can get them to come up. Apparently just press them into the soil lightly. Cover them slightly.
What is this here? This fuzzy... Oh no, this is the Facelia?
That is the Facelia.
Okay, I'm
It's
learning.
going to start flowering. The flowers
Yeah.
are really cute. They look like little caterpillars.
Oh, nice.
Okay. Also, the other one's later, so I have 2 seeds left. Well, I just dropped one, so
Okay.
here's what we're gonna do.
I'm gonna plant it. Oh, okay. That's called, what is it called where you just drop seeds randomly? Seed dropping? I don't know.
Chaos gardening?
I guess, kind of. Sometimes you just do that in gardening. You just throw a bunch of seeds everywhere and see what happens.
Oh yeah, it's fun to do. Let's do the Catola milkweed. So, narrow leaf milkweed, as it says on the tin, has narrow leaves. Catola milkweed has nice wide leaves. Different look.
Okay.
Both native to the Los Angeles area.
Fig tree for sure. Should grow some there.
What's that? By the fig trees? Yeah.
Yeah.
So these seeds actually look a bit different. They're a bit bigger.
Okay. They look kind of similar.
Yeah, they're going to look very similar.
Oh, there was tropical milkweed here too, huh?
Was there? I don't think I pulled anything out of here.
Oh.
Well, I did. I pulled this thing out. I don't know what this is.
Oh.
It's a flower of some kind. It looks like
I
it's
didn't
an
even
American
know
flower.
bats are considered pollinating animals.
Yeah, they are. Absolutely.
Wow, look at that. Hummingbirds, I love to see hummingbirds in the garden.
Let's see how these do with just pressing them lightly into the soil. Because some of them ended up getting buried. This is a nifty little experiment.
I don't know what smells good right here. Something smells really good.
This looks like a snapdragon. I think that's what this is.
Hmm.
I don't know. I didn't plant it.
It's beautiful. I trimmed that down and now it's like really big again.
Yeah, it's gonna need a little haircut soon. Let's go over here. Yeah, I didn't plant this one, right? I put other native seeds in here. I put in these boxes, I put probably a dozen or two native species, a dozen and a half. Let's just see which ones come up. See what happens. I love doing that. And then the thing is, if they're successful in your garden, congratulations, you've made native plants a part of your seed bank. Very good. All right, that's it. The milkweed's done. We just need to water it in, and I'll do that later. Those are some big sweet potatoes.
Yeah, how do you know when to harvest the sweet potato?
You could probably take that now.
But isn't that the mother plant, like the one that gives off?
I don't think that matters.
That's what I was told.
Here, sweet potatoes can be perennial, which means they'll grow and produce year after year after year after year.
Because I am so tempted to harvest that.
Yeah, you can treat them like an annual. You can pull them up. Well, here's what's going to happen. See what I did here? I buried the stalk underneath the soil. Uh-huh. So now it's going to root.
So if I were to pull this out where all the shoots are coming out of...
Cut the shoots off, then pull it out. And then root the shoots.
Okay.
So I would root the shoots first before you pull it out. Okay. And then do it. Oh yeah, here's another cool native plant I introduced. This little guy. I love this little guy.
So fragile. This
is Plantago Erecta, otherwise known as a California plantain. It's native. It's a relative of your common garden plantain that's like a weed, but it hosts some rare pollinators. I think particularly is the Bay checker spot butterfly, and we're not living in the Bay Area, so we won't get those here. But if you're tuning in from the Bay Area, plant California plantain, Plantago Erecta. Definitely 100% plant that.
Okay, I think we are we done? It's 1:55.
1:55? Yeah, let's wrap it up.
Okay.
Any more questions?
Does anyone have questions about fruit tree fertilizing, native milkweed, or I guess anything related to gardening?
Anything, honestly.
You can also use the Ask a Master Gardener feature that we have on the Maryland Magrum Center website.
Yes, please do.
We have some great programming happening right now. So we have our weight management workshop series. It's every Friday from 1 to 2 o'clock. And we also have, oh my goodness, I can't remember all the workshops. We have so many. If you visit our website, there's a lot of, our Instagram, we have flyers with all the different events that we host and collaborate with. Yeah, we'll be doing some cool things for National Nutrition Month, and I'm trying to think if I missed anything. We're here every Thursday at 1 o'clock. And what are the topics for next week? Probably...
I think what we're going to do next week is we're going to sow warm season cover crops.
Okay.
And we'll need to prepare a compost seed for that. Don't let me forget to do that.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you everyone for tuning in for today.
Thank you.
We will see you next week. Have a great rest of your Thursday, and goodbye.